Determination is the capacity to endeavor for something, no matter how troublesome it may be, to attain. With determination comes solid will, optimism, and a great set of priorities. The most reliable way to predict the future is to create it with gathering knowledge, a commodity to be shared that cannot be conscripted. Good evening, one and all. I, Bhavya Kapoor, extend a warm welcome to all to APG Extreme Session 3, conducted as a part of our Foundation Week celebration. I find immense pleasure in introducing you to our today's guest, Mr. Anshul Sindhwani, Vice President UPS APG Student Chapter 2014-15, who will be briefing us on the topic, the role of geology and geophysics in urban infrastructure and underground projects. I now request Anshul sir to kindly take over.
Thank you. So a very warm good afternoon or probably good evening to one and all present here. I hope probably students from some other streams have also joined. I would like to definitely thanks to AAPG team who has actually coordinated and make this event possible. I am actually doing many of these sort of knowledge sharing things with some other colleges, and probably this is the first time I'm presenting it to my own college, and this is probably one of the proud moment for me as well. Moving further, this topic is so chosen because this is one of the industry I've been in and working since last 5 years. But what I feel is probably this is not a field where most of the students are actually being aware of, because like those students who are actually studying in University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, from the name itself it feels like you are actually like working or probably gaining knowledge only in terms of oil and gas field, but this is not the case, guys. Probably once the presentation will be done, you will be I would say surprised to see that this is also one of the field which is very vast, very evergreen, and this is one of the field probably you can even choose for. Of course, there are few streams like upstream, downstream, and chemical, which may be more focused to oil and gas only. But then there are streams like geosciences, geoinformatics, mining, civil engineering, instrumentation, electronics, mechanical. These all engineering courses are probably the ones which, as in construction industry, we are looking for. And from the name itself, you can see there is a name specified here as urban, which means more of a city with having so much of infrastructure. So a good point here is you will be able to live in a metropolitan city, or I would say you will be connected to the cities. Whereas we all know probably in oil and gas, we'll be living far away from our houses. So moving further, I'll just give a brief introduction about myself, and then we'll start with the topic. Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir. The slide is visible.
Is still the first slide or is it the next slide?
It's still the first slide, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So as you already know that I'm one of the alumni of UPS. So I've done BTech in geosciences. I'm 15th pass out, 2015 batch pass out. And in 2017, I've also started pursuing doctorate, or I should say PhD in tunneling from IIT ISM Dhanbad, which is probably all of you might be aware of. It is Indian School of Mines, mainly famous for underground courses. And so this is a sort of part-time study I am carrying out along with my working with L&T. And I'm also like AAPG, I've worked as a vice president. I'm also associated with a chapter which is internationally known as International Tunneling Association. So the Indian chapter is known as Tunneling Association of India. So I'm currently working as a secretary coordination for Tunneling Association as well. And I've also done certification course on drilling and blasting. So as on date, I have more than 5.5 years of experience in geological, geotechnical aspects of design, construction, and tendering of our underground projects, mainly looking after the stations, tunnel boring machines, NATAM construction, and cross passages. So probably these are the terms you may be hearing it for the first time, but as we move further, you may able to come to know what I'm exactly talking about. So I'm also doing some sort of blog writing and research publications. I've done these are the recent ones which I've done in 2019 and 20, almost 5 papers and one technical blog I have written. So this is what I've gained so far in 5 years of my journey. So moving further to the topic, probably this is the slide most favorable, or I should say the slide which you have already been, so much learned about it. Of course, it's visible that it is an anticline, syncline fault, where exactly the gas is trapped, cap rock, reservoir, shale. So these terms are probably very common for you by now, since you are already pursuing from petroleum background. But what we are going to learn today is all about urban tunneling projects. As you can see in the image, there are machines which is probably digging down below the buildings. As you can see, the one is basically for metro. Most of you guys have already traveled across India, mainly as of now in Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad. You might have already traveled a lot in this underground metro trains, but you may not have been fascinated by the fact that how exactly it is being built. So this is probably the right time I'll be sharing it with you guys. And just next to it, what you can see is a road tunnel where the vehicles are going. This particular tunnel is being planned or constructed for metro specifically, whereas these are the ones for road tunnels. And the next one you can see is an underground basement being constructed mainly for the parking. So all what I'll be discussing about today is below ground things. You might have seen the metros running above the road as well, but my topic would be specifically restricted to the underground works which is being carried out all across the world. Moving further, I'll just brief on what exactly I'll be covering today, starting with the urban tunneling, what exactly I'm talking about, what urban tunneling indicates, then what is the specialized team needed for this sort of projects, and then basics of tunnel construction, uh, then the role of geology, geophysics, and mining in this particular projects. What are the challenges? What are the career opportunities for you guys? Like I said in the beginning, this would be an eye opener because most of you guys are actually focused on oil and gas, and you may not have seen how exactly or how much opportunities are there in these sort of underground projects. So what exactly is the topic known as urban tunneling? See, tunneling is nothing but a way to create space below ground for many purposes. Like I explained earlier, it could be for roadways, railways, for utilities, for basements, or probably nowadays, many of you might have heard of, there is one particular building in Norway where they have actually made it could be ice skating, not sorry, ice skating. There are many things probably they have built so that they can earn money by probably taking money from tourists. So there are many applications. I am not exactly able to recall the name of that particular building. It is there in Norway. Norway is famous for underground spaces. So as you can see on the right side, there are a hell lot of buildings on top, and two tunnels coming out. One is for going towards that city, and one is from coming out from the city. So nowadays, many of the cities in India have this sort of planning or many of the projects are already under construction. So what exactly, I mean, how exactly it is being built is the question here, since we are telling that it is urban tunneling. So unique challenge is, since we are working all below these buildings, imagine how is it even possible. As a basic knowledge, what you can see is, if these buildings are going to remain there and if these tunnels are going to be built, what is the main unique challenge that we'll be facing? That challenge is nothing but a ground subsidence. That ground on which these buildings are located should not subside at all. The ground subsidence part must be avoided at any cost. Whatever we need to do in this ground. So when I'm saying these tunnels, these are mostly located at least 20 meter, which is 60 feet below the ground, and these buildings are above surface structures. So imagine the ground below the building up to the tunnels, that needs to remain intact, and this is one of the major thing that needs to be taken care of. Now when we are tunneling in these urban environments, there are existing utility lines like electricity, telephone, gas pipelines. So all these will also be disturbed, like I said, when we are going to tunnel below the surface. So definitely these projects are actually accommodating measures to have any detrimental effects to other infrastructure. When I'm saying other infrastructure, it means these buildings, it could be a cricket ground, it could be a university, it could be any sort of structure that needs to be protected when we are building these sort of projects. So as a basic thing, most of you have already traveled across India and world. You might have seen that you are basically entering into one station. Let's take a station name as Chandni Chowk. So when you are entering into Chandni Chowk, you will go inside the train, and then you will go to next station. Again, from that station you can come out. But between these two stations, let's say you are traveling from Chandni Chowk to New Delhi. So in between, you can either enter from Chandni Chowk or you can enter from New Delhi, or you can go out from both these stations. Between this, there will be a tunnel which will be connecting these two stations. So as you can see in this plan, there is a cut and cover box we call as a station. So from either sides, these two trains will be going. So one will be going towards and one will be coming in. So basically there are two components in urban tunneling. One is cut and cover box, from where one is either going to go in or come out, and then there will be tunnels part. Now these tunnels, there are different methods of constructing it that I'll explain later. Now how exactly this station is going to be built? So below the section provided, so just imagine, in this is a excavated portion. So above there are buildings on both sides. You can see there is a road, cars are going. On the other side there is a building. So in between you are excavating, and then you can see there is a westbound tunnel and eastbound tunnel. So from basically these two areas, trains are either moving in or going out. This is just to give a gist of how exactly the section and plan it is looking like. So during construction stage, this is one of the station we are constructing in Mumbai. This is near to Nariman Point. Probably many of you might be from this place, so must be aware of this Nariman Point place. So as you can see, what we have done, both sides or I should say all the four sides we have buildings, and in between there is a station from where the tunnels will be there on both the sides. One would be on this side and one would be on this side. Of course, there are twin tunnels, so one is coming in, one is going out. So this is how it looks like during construction. And of course, when there will be a station built fully, there will be no object visible on the top. It would be only an entry points. So you can imagine this place will be restored like as it is when it was there before the start of construction. So this is just a basic figure to explain the same thing what I've explained earlier when you are going from one station to other station. So first image what you can see is there is two shafts. So you can consider these two shafts as two stations. One is you can take as station A, other is station B. So these are being built by cut and cover method, and these two shafts are being connected by tunnels. Now, how these tunnels are being built? There are different methods. One is by tunnel boring machine. So in the third image, what you can see is fourth image, this tunnel is already being built. These stations are already there. So all you need to do is you need to enter inside, you need to go this side, and then you can come out from this side. But these images are actually during construction stage. So why I'm explaining all this is to just give you a feeling that why the geology and geophysical and mining engineers are actually needed for these sort of works. This cannot be done by anyone, or I should say only civil engineers. No, this is not just possible at all by civil engineers. Imagine these buildings are high-rise buildings are there on top, and you need to create a hole below the surface. Isn't it really possible that these buildings will stay safe? There are certain risks available, but that can be mitigated only by these specialized engineers which I was referring. So imagine if these projects are only being built by civil engineers and there is no geologist, geophysicist or mining engineer. You can see in the images how exactly these collapses are happening. I'm not saying these projects are being built without the geologist and other engineers. All I'm saying is how catastrophic failures can be if even certain sort of ground importance is being ignored at any point of time. Are actually conditions of, these pictures are actually from India. This is from Chennai. This is from Kolkata. Many of you who might be staying in Kolkata or who know or who probably have read it. Recently, we had many of the buildings collapsed due to metro tunneling. This is again, you can see from the bus itself, those who are from south, specifically from Chennai, can see this bus is from Chennai. So this has happened exactly in front of Chennai Central Station. So all I'm trying to give you a feel here is that for all these sort of works, there are specialized engineers required, which I have already mentioned. Otherwise, how catastrophic failures can happen, you can see in these figures. Now, why we need specialized engineers is because these engineers can actually manage the risk or minimize it or share it, transfer it or accept it. It cannot be ignored. When I am there as a geologist working in these projects, if I feel there is anything important to be communicated to higher management, I do it because I cannot take that risk of any building collapsing in front of my eyes. So same way, these specialized engineers are working in their own departments to ensure that all the buildings are safe and whatever we are constructing in between should be continued forever. Now, I said there are two components in this. One is tunnel, second is station. Station, I have already told it is a cut and cover thing. Now, tunnels are being constructed by different modes, or I should say different methods. There are two main methods. One is drill and blast method, and another is tunnel boring machines. Those who are from mining much definitely be aware of the blasting activities being carried out in mines. And tunnel boring machine is a mechanized tunneling. It is being done all across the world, and it is one of the most advanced machines available and one of the most used all along the world. Now, these are two methods. Now, constructing these two, constructing the tunnels by these two methods, there are different approaches available. One is New Austrian tunneling method, one is Norwegian tunneling method, and then there is one Adeco-RS. Then tunnel design methods also, there are different methods available. This presentation I have not kept it in very micro detail level because probably you may lose the way in between. I have kept it very introductory so that at least you come to know this part of side as well, and not just the part which you have already or probably you are mostly studying about oil and gas. So like I said, a tunneling boring machine is a mechanized tunneling method. So what you can see is there are circular tunnels, not different. Like I said initially, it is being built for different purposes. For imagine for metro, the diameter of this TBM is mostly around 6.5 to 7 meter. Whereas if you see the mega TBMs used all around the world, the maximum dia is around 15 to 16 meter, whereas minimum dia available for utility tunnels is around 1 to 2 meter as well. So basically what this machine do is it mines whatever it is there in front. So it could be a soil, it could be rock as well. Whatever it is there now, depending upon that type of ground conditions, where exactly the role of geologist comes into picture, this type of machine type will be decided. There are different types. So before moving further, what I'll do is I'll just show a short video on TBM so that you will get a gist of it, what exactly I'm talking about.
Zona Universitaria. The tunnel route crosses beneath Barcelona's historic city center, densely populated residential areas and roads. In order to avoid any damage to the sensitive buildings, subsidence, heave, and vibrations must be avoided at all costs. In addition, the impact on traffic above ground must remain as small as possible. The S442 is a classic EPB machine with an outer diameter of 12.06 meters and a total length of 95 meters. With its rotating cutting wheel, the tunneling machine breaks the material from the tunnel face. The material is then transferred to the belt conveyor system in the rear of the shield via a screw conveyor, while the hydraulic cylinders press the machine forward continuously. The reinforced concrete segments, known as lining segments, are installed under the protection of the shield skin. When the ring building has been completed, the machine can push itself against the new tunnel ring and drill further into the soil. The 83-meter-long backup accommodates all logistic facilities necessary for the operation of the overall system. The working method of an EPB shield is basically made up of two phases, the tunneling phase and the ring building phase. During the tunneling phase, the cutting wheel, which rotates at a speed of up to 2.7 revolutions per minute, is pressed against the tunnel face with a pressure of up to 400 bar by means of hydraulic cylinders. 24 hydraulic motors drive the cutting wheel via a gear rim, developing a drilling torque of up to 38,000 kilonewton meters. Under this high pressure, the disc cutters and cutting knives made of high-strength steel loosen the material at the tunnel face. If necessary, the soil can be conditioned with water, bentonite, or foam using the injection systems located on the backup. With the help of nozzles integrated into the cutting wheel, the corresponding conditioning medium is injected into the soil, which is pressed into the excavation chamber by the existing earth and groundwater pressure. For shield tunneling in non-stable soils, a loss in stability at the tunnel face is compensated by creating a support pressure. In the case of the earth pressure balance shield, the soil which was excavated by the cutting wheel is used to support the tunnel face. In order to reach a state of equilibrium, the support pressure is transferred by the hydraulic cylinders via the bulkhead to the soil, which avoids an uncontrolled penetration. The soil prepared in this way can now be transported from the invert area of the excavation chamber to a belt conveyor by a screw conveyor. The screw conveyor is driven by 2 hydraulic motors which have a power of up to 400 kilowatts. The quality of the soil taken from the excavation chamber is regulated by the screw conveyor's rotational speed, which is matched to the advance speed. The aim is to maintain a state of equilibrium between the quantity of soil removed by the screw conveyor and the quantity of soil accumulated from the shield's tunneling process. This guarantees optimum support for the tunnel face.
So I hope you might have understood the TBM, how exactly it works. Of course, it's a basic idea, and intention is to just introduce what exactly these TBMs work, how exactly it moves forward. So moving further, you can see there is a same TBM on site assembled, and this is a shaft, or you can say a station from where the TBM is ready to bore. And this is one of the shaft in Mumbai next to Taj Hotel, where the TBM is yet to be lowered down. So basically this TBM is going to be lowered in this shaft, and this is how it will start tunneling. So you have already seen in the video that when the TBM is moving forward, basically these concrete segments are being installed at the back, and you can see now a finished tunnel, how exactly it looks like. So you might have already seen while traveling in metro. Of course, these much lights are not there when you are traveling in between the two stations, but this is something how it looks like. So, like I said initially, there are two methods how we can construct a tunnel. One is TBM, which is nothing but tunnel boring machine, and second way is to do it by NATM, which is new Austrian tunneling method. So this is how we built a tunnel. Of course, the rates are different in different types of tunneling. So what we do in these tunnels is we drill holes on the face, then we charge it, and then we blast it. The same case it happens in mines. The same way we also built. Of course, the method of construction is different. Like I said, it's a new Austrian tunneling method, whereas in mines there are different methods being adopted at different places. Then what we do is we install different sort of supports because we are excavating this. Imagine if this is a soil and you are creating a hole below 20 meter, everything will collapse and it will not retain. So like in the machine also, you might have also noticed that there is a equilibrium to be maintained. So in this case also, if you are not providing any support to the ground which is exposed by this hole, it will collapse. So what we do is we support it with different types like steel rib, shotcrete application, rock bolting, and this is how it looks like once the tunnel is being built. In this particular method, whatever the shape we want, we can construct, whereas in TBMs, mostly as on date, circular TBMs are being built and circular TBMs are being manufactured, whereas China recently many of the TBMs in rectangular shape being worked for different subway constructions. So moving further, this is an image of a NATM tunnel being constructed. So you can see there is a drill jumbo standing here, and you can see small holes all around the periphery and on face, which is being intended to be blasted. So these are the two different type of tunnel methods by which a tunnel between two stations is being constructed. Now, here comes the main role of today's presentation. Is now you have already got a gist of how exactly a station is being built, a tunnel is being built, and how exactly it looks like, where exactly it is located. Like I said, it's urban tunneling, so it's mostly below the building. So how you are able to construct it. So you have already got a gist of it. Now imagine while I was talking about all these parameters or probably new words for you, you might have already figured out few things that why the role of geology, geophysics, mining, and geoinfo is required. So you will come to know now. Many sort of, I should say, survey or investigations are being done before the start of any project or before construction, and even during construction and post construction as well. Many activities are there which involve these specialized engineers. So starting with the first survey, which is known as topographical survey. When we are constructing any sort of project within these cities, many of the features like buildings, roads, trees, manholes, cables, poles, all these things to be plotted in one particular drawing, where the people who are actually from geoinformatics aware of the fact that there is a big role being played by the GIS softwares or topographic maps. And so with the help of these engineers, we built this survey drawings. And then moving further, we also investigate. Like I said, when there is a soil, it is a different behavior. When it is a rock, there is a different behavior. So of course, there is a need to know before the start of construction that what sort of ground is there, whether it is a soil or it is a rock. If rock, which rock is it? Which rock type is it? Like the same way we do exploration drilling in oil and gas, it is being done here. Of course, the depth is less here because the construction depth itself is maximum 20 meter. And then of course at the same time we also do geophysical survey, which most of you might be aware of: seismic refraction, electrical resistivity, ground penetration radar. These are the three main survey which we usually do in our construction projects, specifically for tunneling projects, whereas if it is elevated, geophysical may not be required. And then during construction, whatever it's there in the face, you have already seen the video of how TBM works. So I'll show you a picture in the coming slides, and how exactly I actually go ahead of the I should say the extreme part of the TBM, and I see what exactly is lying ahead of the TBM, because we need to map what is there ahead of the TBM, and accordingly these TBM will be operated. So it's same like a car, how you operate in hilly areas and how you operate in plain areas. It is the same case with TBM. It reacts differently, it works differently when it is in soil, when it is in fractured rock, when it is in hard rock. So that needs to be informed to the operator or the engineers who are working in these machines by the geologists, that this is what it is there, this machine accordingly. Then, like I said, the unique challenge in this project is to have no subsidence and to ensure that all the buildings above the tunnel is safe. So we do building condition survey. We check the condition of the building before the project started, so that if there is any sort of impact being done or being created by the construction, we will come to know, and we will make sure that these buildings should not get any sort of problem. Then of course, when we are doing it, we cannot just see it by our eyes. There are some sort of specific instruments being installed either on the roads or below the roads or inside the buildings to check is there any impact due to our construction. Then at the last, we have controlled blasting. Like I said, there is a method of tunnel construction, NATM. So in NATM, what we do is we do blasting. So for blasting, without mining engineer, without having blast design, blast production details, vibration monitoring, you cannot do anything. So with this slide, you may get an idea now that why exactly all these specialized engineers are required, and why we also should focus on these opportunities. I'm not saying, of course, oil and gas is not good or bad. All I'm saying is there is a different side of coin as well. So you can go for that field also if you feel it is good for you. So this is one of the scope along with oil and gas where you can probably get an exposure to it. So like I said, for TBM, these parameters like what exactly is there ahead of the TBM needs to be told. So I was saying a generic term. Now these details are there that what exactly we look for when we go just next to the start, or I should say the cutter head region from where these wheels are rotating. These sort of parameters we actually look for. You might have, most of you might have already studied engineering geology, rock mass classifications. So you might be aware of the fact that what are the discontinuities, rock mass classification systems. And then of course, you might have studied in rock mechanics and soil mechanics subjects, what is UCS, BTS, PLI. So all these parameters we are actually look for when we are going ahead of the TBM, or probably before the TBM arrives itself. When we map all these things, we test these things in laboratory, and we make sure that the right TBM is being selected based on these parameters. So just a few photographs to show you that yes, these tests being done in construction sites too. In the left side, you can see this is a resistivity test. You can see the electrodes here, and on the right side, you can see there is a hammer. So, and their seismograms are there. So you can basically see that the seismic refraction test and electrical resistivity test are being done in these projects. Along the roads, you can see these cars are parked. So you can imagine the station is going to come here, or probably the tunnel is there below. So we need to see what exactly is lying below. This is a geotechnical investigation, the same way we do it for exploratory drilling. Of course, in oil and gas, the barges and probably the land exploratory drilling rigs are quite big, and these are very small in nature because these are intended only for shallow depth, whereas oil and gas, it is quite much deeper. So moving further, you can see now up to previous slide, it was all about the test, how it is being done, and this is all about what exactly we get. So you can see the cores are being recovered. These are being mapped. The parameters, what I've just explained in the previous slide, these parameters are being looked upon in from these rock cores. What type is there? What infilling is there? All these sort of things are mapped. And then these are the results of SRT and ERT. You can see the two lines on the top basically shows the alignment of tunnel, whereas in the bottom side it is all about what exactly the strata is. And same way you can see on in the left side that there are two lines which shows the tunnel section below ground, and then it's all about the different layers showing different velocities indicating different types of ground. Now, one video I have kept it for blasting because see this blasting is being done in a controlled manner. We are actually working near British Terminal or Victoria Terminal, which is also known as CST in Mumbai. So we are doing exactly next to the heritage buildings, which is being built by the Britishers and which is 150 years old. So you can imagine the blasting cannot be done like it is being done in mining. So it is being done in a very controlled way, as you can see in the video. I'll just show it again. Moving further, there are of course challenges. Like I said, if when we are building these projects, definitely specialized engineers are required. But even if they are there, definitely challenges will still be there because we are working. We are actually disturbing the ground. Ground is was lying there millions of years ago, but we are disturbing it now for our purpose. So challenges are there, of course. You can see in the right side, of course, the image is very smiling. It is me only. But you can see at the bottom, water is there and it is touching my belt. So you can imagine I'm standing inside a tunnel. And this picture is from Chennai Metro back in 2016, where you might have heard that floods were there. 2015 end or early 2016, I didn't remember the exact date, but what has happened is because of floods and because of some construction activity, entire flooding has happened inside this tunnel, and we two were gone inside this tunnel to check if everything is okay or not. So imagine with if you are disturbing these grounds and if buildings are there on top, roads are there on top, traffic is running all around, you need to be cautious enough. You need to, of course, take into consideration the geological and geophysical aspects, and at the same time do as much investigation as you feel it's possible, or I should say it is giving a fair enough idea of what exactly the ground is lying below. So this is the picture which what I was referring earlier, that how exactly I go in this TBM to check what exactly is lying ahead. So this is a man lock from where a man can enter inside. Of course, at that time, this TBM will not be rotating, this cutter head will not be rotating, and it would be in standstill mode. So this is a picture of me, and this is a cutter head, what you can see here, and you can imagine the space within this tunnel. So as far as I remember, the dia of that opening is only 800 which is like less than 1 meter, and we need to enter from that opening itself. So how difficult it would be, you can imagine. And this photo is showing the rock ahead of the TBM. So from this exposed rock outcrop, we map this thing. We make sure that what exactly how exactly this rock will behave. As a geologist, as a geophysicist, we should know. And of course, some testing can be done, like SRT or ERT can be conducted in along the sides of this TBM. So a lot of scope is there for geological and geophysical students who have actually learned this about this background. And what else you can see is, of course, in this, it's just an opening, but on the other side, you can see there are rotators. So these rotators are basically used to cut this rock. This is an image of Delhi Metro where this rock is of 350 megapascal strength, which is so hard that with this small cutters, it was not at all possible. So this is sort of a surprise for us. And that is the reason I said these geological parameters are very important for the selection of the TBM, because once this TBM arrives, it cannot go back and another TBM cannot enter in. With this TBM itself, we need to go ahead. But how? That is the reason we say it's important to get the data first and then decide the TBM. So this would be of more interest to you guys, that what exactly the career opportunities I am talking about. In underground construction, see, like I said earlier, like AAPG, like SP, this is also an organization. It's an international tunneling and underground space society or association, both. And then UCA is also there, which are actually promoting the industry the same way the chapters in oil and gas do. And they also provide scholarships for young engineers, those who have graduated from, of course, from different backgrounds, and they are actually sponsoring post-graduated courses endorsed by these IT society. So these courses are being located in different countries. There are 4 to 5 courses, I remember, and you can probably apply for any of these courses, and then of course you have to apply for this scholarship as well. So if you are getting selected, your course study would be fully funded by this IT organization. At the same time, like I said, it's a boom to the society in current scenario. Most of the Indian cities as on date are actually coming up with these metro projects. You might have probably the people from different states, different cities are already heard of these metro projects quite a lot, but they are not aware of these opportunities probably, what I'm telling about now. I'll be giving further details on where exactly these metro projects are already planned in the coming slides. Of course, at the same time, which are the projects being approved, which are the already ongoing construction projects. So with these sort of list, you will get a feeling that there are so many jobs in this field as well. And like I said, the main advantage is you get a chance to stay in the city itself. So this is a list of operational and under construction metro projects in India as on date. Ahmedabad Metro, Bangalore Metro, Bhopal, Chennai, Delhi. Of course, Delhi has already built one of the largest network in India. It is somewhere around 350 kilometers already, and it has started long back in 2002. Then there is a Gurgaon Metro, Hyderabad, Indore, Jaipur, Kanpur, Kochi. So these all cities have already constructed something, so it is under operational, and some of the part it is under construction stage as well. The list is not ended yet. It is also there in Kolkata. Kolkata is one of the city where it has first started. Unfortunately, there was some delays. So the operation, I would say the network is not so much expanded as compared to Delhi, but yes, it is one of the first city where the metro construction was started. Then we have Lucknow Metro, Meerut Metro, Mumbai Metro, Nagpur, Navi Mumbai, Noida, Pune. Then these three are the ones which have been recently approved and in tendering stage as of now. Agra, you will have metro next to Taj Mahal. So probably those who are even planning to visit, they can probably in near future within 4 to 5 years they can go with metro also. Then you have in Patna, Surat. Surat is coming up very shortly. Then proposed metro projects in India, these are the ones which are being either taken into feasibility study as on date or being sent to cabinet or center for approval. So these are the ones in Coimbatore, Gorakhpur, Guwahati, Jammu, Kozhikode, Prayagraj, Srinagar, Trivandrum, Uttarakhand. Glad to see. Probably it would be in Haridwar to Dehradun only. So you probably your juniors can enjoy in this metro cities. Then Varanasi, Vijayawada, and Visakhapatnam. With that, I would like to end the presentation. You guys are welcome to ask any question or queries you have. Thank you.
In case anybody has any questions regarding the presentation, kindly raise your hand and inquire or sort the queries in the chat box.
There is a question, sir, from uh, Mayank. Mayank, you can please continue asking your question.
Good evening, sir. This was a really insightful presentation, sir. I wanted to know one thing that since this is really big to plan something underground, so what probably is the proposed time for making the whole plan that needs to be executed, sir?
I mean, it's not a direct answer, I would say, because there are many factors involved in this sort of projects. All I would give you is an example of any single case. Let's imagine a case of Mumbai itself. I've been transferred here in 2016. I'm still working. So ideally, imagine if there is a 30-kilometer network planned in Dehradun. Imagine. So what usually government do is government convert this 30-kilometer package alignment into different packages. When I'm say packages, it means basically it is being divided in different phases or packages which will be allotted to different companies for construction. So what will happen is, let's say if this 30-kilometer line is being divided into 10 packages, which means every package will have 3 kilometer, right? So then it can be awarded to 10 different companies who can construct this package. So one 3 kilometer package, you can imagine it will take around 4 to 5 years in underground. In elevated, it takes less time. In underground, since you are already aware of the fact now that it is huge, so it takes minimum 4 to 5 years. But like I said, it is being divided in 10 packages and being awarded to 10 different companies. So you can expect the entire line of 30 kilometer to be built within a span of 4 to 5 years time. I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, Ayush Jaiswal is also here with a question. Ayush, please continue.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask that while making a tunnel, if we have completed the tunnel 30% and suddenly our TDM stops working due to any reason, might be a bigger rock is there in front of it. So, is it possible to change the TBM head at that point, or we have to bring the whole setup to the ground?
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you a real case study. Like I shared before, Kolkata, it has happened recently that many of the buildings have been collapsed because of metro tunnel.
Sir?
Hello,
So,
Sir?
am I audible
Yeah,
now?
sir. Yes, sir,
Yes,
you're
sir.
audible now. Your audio wasn't available previously. Now you're audible, sir. Sir? Okay. Yes. Sir, you are muted right now. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. It's audible now?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what I was telling is, like you said, if there is anything has happened because of a surprise in geology or whatever reasons, head cannot be changed because see in this TBM, the diameter of the cutter head, which is there exactly ahead of the face, it is more than the tunnel which is being built on the backside. That means that concrete segments. So if you see that concrete segments, the diameter would be less. Let's say for an example, it is 6 meter, whereas your cutter head dia would be 6.5 meter. So basically, if it is being stuck due to any reason, it cannot be taken back. But another option is to have another shaft ahead of the TBM to create a passage so that we can come from the front side. But of course, it is not possible because in some cases you might be running below the building, so you cannot demolish the building and that you construct your own thing. So that is the reason I said this TBM selection is very important part, and there comes the role of geology, or I should say the importance of geology, that without us this cannot be decided at all. And these surprises in Himalayas are actually given so much of failures to these TBMs, but in urban tunneling it has gained a huge success.
Okay,
I
thank
hope
you,
you
sir.
have answered.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. My name is Pranav Saxena.
Yeah,
Sir,
tell
my
me.
question is that as most of the industries are moving towards the digitalization, so how is civil industries going for the same, and what are its future aspects?
Can you please repeat the last part? I've understood the digitalization part, but the next part was
Sir, what are its future aspects? What will be the future market trend of the digital market in civil industry?
in construction you are referring?
Yes, sir, construction. It can be construction.
See, as far as I feel that when it comes to either oil and gas or construction projects, see, digitalization is important and it has actually played a role in, I should say, like we all know, it's all virtual now. But many of the things cannot be replaced by virtual, or I should say digitalization. There are few aspects of it which can be converted into a digitalization thing. Just for an example, say I cannot operate the TBM until and unless I am inside the TBM and building the tunnel. These tunnels cannot be built without having physical presence on site. But yes, like you said, digitalization. Uh, I'll give you one example in construction industry is like I said, we need to monitor these buildings. Some specific instruments are being installed. Now there are two ways of doing it. One is to do it physically. Another one is to do it through digital mode. Now this digital mode is nothing but these instruments are being installed as in real time thing, and automatically it is being connected through Wi-Fi and the data is coming to our office. I can see how the building is being monitored while sitting here in the office itself. So of course this digitalization is important, and the scope of it in terms of different industry it is different, so you cannot have again a very straightforward answer to this. For an example, in computer science field, or I should say in IT companies, we all know it's all work from home now. But that has happened because their work is in such a way that you need not to have any sort of physical presence.
Okay, sir. So, sir, can we infer that the digitalization plays more important role in surveillance?
I mean, of course, it is one way of saying it, but again, I would say it is not the only way you look at it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.